am sympathetic to similar to like the immediate post-Trump era, like that first 6 months after he was elected when, everyone was sure he was going to round up all the immigrants and throw them into concentration camps before he liquidated them or something. Which, and he did like a version of that, most certainly, but it was nowhere near what we thought. But nonetheless, and I knew he wasn't a Nazi. I thought he was terrible on immigration, but I knew he wasn't a Nazi, and then he probably wouldn't be much worse than Obama. And in fact, he's a little bit better than Obama, believe it or not. But in terms of numbers, but
don't talk about numbers. You can't do that.
I know that really upsets people. It hurts. Numbers hurts. They hurt feelings apparently. But I remember like just feeling nonetheless like the fear that must have been going on among like especially the undocumented communities. I mean, must have been incredible, and I had tremendous respect for that, even though I thought it was not necessarily going to be true. But nonetheless, there was a new crackdown. And anyway, I just, it's kind of Gustavo Arellano at his best. Like it's giving me a window into that world that I really care about as an outsider and as a beneficiary of immigration. And let me say, a beneficiary of illegal goddamn immigration too. To me, if you're in an illegal, that's a compliment. That's a badge of honor. Right.
Well, look, the very first, when illegal immigration, the term illegals first came into the American English, we weren't even talking about Mexican immigrants or Chinese immigrants. Literally, we were talking about Jews smuggling themselves into Palestine to be able to create the state of Israel. And so when we talked, there was a documentary called The Illegals. That was the name of the documentary in the 1950s, maybe the 40s, The Illegals. And we celebrated those illegals back then. We celebrated those illegals when they were Jews going into Palestine. But the minute they turn into a different shade of brown, like Mexicans, like, Salvadorans or anything, that's when we demonize them. That's when they're no longer hero, but vermin and scum that need to be taken out. So years ago, and I, at this point, I don't think I'll write about it anymore just because I've written about it so much. I mean, this is my 20th year in journalism, which is amazing in its own way. But years ago, for the Times, was it for the Times? Yeah, no, it was for the Times. I wrote an article, a column, talking about how I was proud that my dad came to this country in the trunk of a Chevy. That my dad did the worst possible way imaginable to come into this country, which is 18 years old, being in the trunk of a Chevy with two other guys, and then coming up. And that was the first time he came here as an illegal. And it's funny because that generation of Mexicanos, of undocumented folks, they still call themselves mojados, wetbacks. Like there was a term of pride. They took pride in coming into this country under the gabachos, every which way but loose. There was nothing shameful from that. There's a famous corrido called Vivan los Mojados, Long Live the Wetbacks. I think it was Los Alegres de Terán that first played it, but Los Tigres del Norte made a cover version of it as well. And they talk all about, we're coming in as wetbacks, and the best thing for us to do is we marry a white girl, then we get our green papers, and then we divorce them, and then we go off. Like, and you hear that, there's this joy in that you do not see anymore. And I think that's a bad thing, by the way. Now, when we talk about, well, you can't call those folks illegal immigrants anymore. You have to call them undocumented, which is such a bureaucratic term. And look, I get it. People say no human being is illegal. They'll say that. But then I would always rejoin them with another a Chicano punk band called Los Crudos that used to be in Chicago. There was hardcore punk, so 15-second songs of pure fear. They had a song called Ilegal y qué? Illegal and what of it? And that's how I've all this,
Boom.
It's like, And I'm thank you as a white man, as a gabacho, for loving illegals, because everyone should love Los Mojados. Everyone.
I love people who break laws I don't believe in. That's it. That's all it is. Like I think there should be no laws governing the border whatsoever. I think there should be no border, period. And so if you're breaking and that's one of the most important laws to me that I want to overturn. So if you break that law, you're a hero. You're a hero.
Yeah, and not only that, like we lionize illegals in American society. Look at the state of Oklahoma. Sooners? What is the whole Sooner mythology? We came in before we were supposed to because that shows American pluck. So it's okay if you're a boomer Sooner, but if you're not, but not if you're some Mexican or Salvadoran kid trying to come to make a better life for yourself. And I knew this, by the way, even before I got, you know, politically active or whatever. I just have never liked hypocrisy. And to me, American hypocrisy is a special kind of hypocrisy.
Oh, yeah. We're good at it.